Angry guy here, and today we're discussing what does the future hold for millennial white women. So I want to thank these patrons right here, and of course, special thanks to these patrons: Mickey Turner, Sharky, GNU, Link Neurons, Crotonomy, Royal 2.5, B-Backs, Brian APR, Jamarto, David Herrera, Deadlust, Gabriel Prince, Goo Monster, Hansky, Iceberg 88, John Charles Clark Jr., Joshua Flores, Levi Abram, Nature Monk, Raymond Zuniga, Red Pill Blue Mage, St. Everest, CPO Americana, Scott Venman, Thomas Danielle, Timothy Bruce Leoza, David Strong, Tim Myers, and Daniel D. Utley. I want to thank you all for your continued support. So, guys, we're just going to jump into this because this is a very, very interesting topic, and I am, it's really surprising, but I think a lot of you will find it to be quite interesting and to be quite perplexing. So, what does the future hold for millennial white women? Well, to be honest, there are a number of things in store right now. And we need to really analyze where things are actually headed. It's, in my opinion, I don't think that a lot of women really understood what the future was literally going to, or how it was going to play out for them. Okay? And it's pretty insane because right now we have nothing but a leftist media that continues to tell young women that they should, prioritize a career, don't even think about children, and various other left-leaning policies. And of course, there is the so-called culture in the United States, which basically asserts that all men are potential predators and all women are potential victims. That narrative has led to a lot of terrible things happening. For example, a recent case, a mother actually sadly took her own life after her son took his life after he was accused of an assault. And he took his life against a woman, and he took his life, and his mother then took her life shortly afterwards, basically saying that she could not imagine the future without him. Since #MeToo, a number of prominent men have also taken their lives. A famous, I believe he was a college professor and actor in South Korea, he took his life. A famous musician, I forget if he was he worked for an orchestra, his entire life was working there. There were claims made against him unjustly. He took his life. And it's not just that. There has also been a number of cases where men have lost their lives in recent years since #MeToo. Recently, an older man was on the bus, and a young woman called her brother and claimed that she had just been assaulted by this man. Her brother rushed to the bus stop, went to the bus, and physically attacked the man, striking him and essentially killing him. And when they reviewed the footage from the bus, because there was actually a security camera on the bus, they saw clearly that the man walked past the woman, but he did not assault her in any way. And this just happened 2 weeks ago? It happened very recently. The narrative that white women, and especially white women, have been putting out is that they are victims and that white males are essentially the perpetrators in most cases. Okay? I want to talk about where things are headed from a socio-economic standpoint. Okay? Because right now, on Wall Street, women are having a hard time being hired. Right now, we are literally in a major global collapse, economic collapse. I don't know what people believe, but people are not good with math. Or just, I know, I've talked about the common sense nature of things for a long time. So let's talk about the populations in the United States. Okay? So the largest male populations after white males are black males and Hispanic males. Okay. Black males only make up something like 6.5% of the population. From that portion, maybe around 20 to 30% of them, if that, make up, and I'm just being very clear, make up a class of men who have a socioeconomic status above 100, making above $100,000 or $200,000 a year. I'm saying this for a good reason. Black men only make up a tiny fragment of the population. Okay? We're doing the math. Asian men make up such a small fraction of the population that they're so minimal that it's hard to actually count them as being major contributing factors to the economy, although they do contribute significantly because they tend to statistically have the higher paying jobs. But there's such a small number of them that it is hard to count them in the general population in terms of men who are marriageable because there's so few of them. The same is to be said about Indian men, and even Hispanic men do not make up a significant portion of the population. At this point, white males still make up the largest class of people who have the highest level of education, who have the highest socioeconomic status. And again, I'm just giving you facts and statistics. This is based around population, if just from a population standpoint. So there are not enough men of other ethnicities that white women would be able to marry. To top that off, considering the living standards that most women want, their pool of available men, because all of them cannot get an NBA player, okay, minimizes down. So that pool is more than likely going to be among white males. Think about what white males have gone through in the last couple of decades. In the last decade, they have been blamed for every problem in society. Everything has been levied against them. I did an interview a couple of months ago, maybe almost more than a few months ago. It was last year, I think. And this woman, she said something to me. She got really angry with me. I made a comment and she said, as a white woman, and I'm not saying that what I've experienced is as bad as a black woman, but as a white woman, I go through just to paraphrase, I go through my own share of hardships on a daily basis. And I would think that you'd be more culturally sensitive to that. So, and that really, and of course, before she said that, she made sure to point out that she was not a feminist. And then she goes on to say that. So you look at the division of society today. You look at men in society today and what men have experienced, especially white males, in the court systems, okay? In the courts, in the family court, in the divorce court, socially, in the media, in the court of public opinions. And the reason why women went about this is because they figured that the government would always be there and the government would always provide and the government would always subsidize their living. That's coming to a complete and utter end. So when we talk about the future of millennial women, and specifically the future of millennial white women, it's going to be extremely tough. Shirt, shirt. Shout out to Worldly Traveler. Says, good morning, everyone from Bogota, Colombia. Colombia's in the house. He says, radical feminism is why I will no longer live in the US and Canada. Guys, remember what I kept telling you about getting a passport? A lot of you didn't listen. Firebird says, hello, what's going on, Firebird? There's a television show, there's a series, okay? I like to watch it. It's on a service called Crunchyroll, okay? I really enjoy it. And it's called Rising, let me try to get this right. The Rising of the Shield Hero. I'm going to tell you a bit more about it. So how does the Rising of the Shield Hero actually work? Well, let's go ahead and talk about that now, because it's intriguing. The Rising of the Shield Hero is a series about four males who are transported to another world where they have to work together as the heroes of legend. And this is a real world to stop a major catastrophe. So there's these things called waves, and they're basically trying to protect the world and stop the world from being destroyed. Now, here's where things get interesting. The king of the country, keep in mind, there's a king and a queen. The queen is actually the leader of the country, but the king obviously is second to the queen. And the king has two daughters. He has two daughters. One is older, and then he has a younger daughter. The older daughter maybe is like in her, like between 18 and 21. She's old enough, all right? She's a grown woman. And she has the king's favor. So, in this country, they have some interesting laws. One of their laws is that rape is punished by execution. So for those of you that know this anime, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you that don't, well, you're in for maybe a treat. So the princess, the oldest princess, she conspires with her father to accuse the Shield, one of the heroes, of rape. And it becomes publicly known. And in this country, rape is punishable by death. In the end, he does not get executed because they need him alive to protect the country. But his name is, but it's made public knowledge that he attempted to rape the crown princess. Well, no, I shouldn't call it the crown princess, but yeah, he attempted to sexually assault the princess, and his life was miserable. He could not rent, and he couldn't get a place to sleep. He was banished everywhere. Everyone around him spoke poorly of him. I mean, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. So his name was slandered, and it was pretty bad. So I want you to think about this. He spent months maybe having his name thrown through the mud, having his life destroyed, having everything ripped up to pieces. At one point, they even claimed that he tried to that he had black magic powers, which is a lie. He was brainwashing people. The sister and the king basically plotted to frame him of rape so that they could then work to overthrow the country. You heard me. This is so true. On top of that, the princess, the older princess, is not so, she's problematic. So she was not going to be the one who would take the throne. In the future, it would actually have been her younger sister. So what does she do? She attempts to have her younger sister assassinated. And then she works with a shadowy organization, well, the church of the country, okay, that wanted to overthrow the queen. She works with them. The king works with them and the king basically didn't claims that he didn't know about the assassination, but he was all in on the sexual assault. And he had no gripes about it. He had no gripes about it. They framed this man, and it was terrible, and he basically suffered. He suffered just like in today's society, how people suffer. He suffered. He suffered when a man is accused, he suffers. And that's what happened to him. I'll put a link to the series if you want to check it out. It's on Crunchyroll. It's amazing. You can watch it for free. Well, long story short, after many, many, many episodes, he finally gets justice. The queen of the country, she intervenes. She knows the whole thing was a lie and a setup. Now, keep in mind, in this country, don't forget what I said earlier. In this country, the act of rape is punishable by death. So think about this. If the act of rape is punishable by death, then what about the act of making a false accusation? Bingo. So the king, who conspired with his daughter to falsely accuse this man of sexual assault, they are both sentenced to death. Okay? And as you can see on the screen, you can see he's the shield hero right here. So that's the shield hero, the one in the green with the green thing around him. Okay? And the one, if you look in the second picture, the girl in the middle is the princess who her older sister tried to assassinate her so that she could take the throne. This is the queen who clears the shield hero's name. Okay. This is her having a conversation with him and letting him know that she's going to publicly clear his name. Okay. And then let's go a little bit further. Here is the scene where after they are put on this is the princess, that's her father, and after they are put on trial and they have this thing like a lie detector, they put them through a lie detector. They put her through a lie detector, and they found out, everyone sees that she was a liar, and pretty much everyone in the kingdom basically said, yeah, go ahead and execute him. And she begs and starts begging and begging and begging. And you know what's interesting? She had been working with another hero, like another guy, and he turned his back on her. He didn't come to her defense. He didn't speak up for her. He just let her be. And then she starts screaming, and in the end, she calls out to the guy that she accused. It's the man that she accused, and begged him for help just before she was about to be executed. Well, he stops the execution. He stops the execution, and instead, and as you can see, here they are in chains. Here they are in chains. They're being taken in, and she was basically this thing that's on her chest. It's what they call a slave crest, and it compels her to tell the truth, because they're put temporarily. And here they are in front of the guillotine. Okay. And he basically intervenes. And as you can see, look at the screen. She screams out, "Help me, no, help me, Nafumi," because basically no one was going to come to. Everyone turned their backs on her and him. In the end, he came to their rescue, and he basically settled for having their names changed. The father's name, the king's name, was changed to the word trash. And the daughter's name was now changed to the B word. And then, of course, she also had an adventurer name, and that was changed to slut. Okay? and the church in the country was basically abolished. The queen basically was grateful that the shield hero ultimately chose to request that the lives of her daughter and the king be spared, which is interesting because she understood the circumstance. In that country, rape is punished by death. So think about it. False rape, most naturally, must also be punished by death. Now, you might say that this is fantasy, but I think that this is a very interesting illustration of where things are potentially headed in our society. For a very long time, women have essentially gotten away scotch-free with everything that they've done. They've gotten away with false claims, they've gotten away with false accusations. But things are beginning to change. And you might be shocked to know what is happening. Okay? You might be shocked to know what's happening in the rest of the world right now. I'm actually going to show you something that many of you probably cannot believe. But I want you to think about this. Don't be surprised if women ultimately end up supporting this. Something interesting is happening in Alabama. And you know that Alabama recently passed the strongest restrictions on abortion in the country. But something else has happened recently in Alabama too. They've introduced a new bill that could potentially be put into law. Now, here's where things get interesting. Alabama bill would criminalize false rape accusations. A new bill would make it a crime to falsely accuse someone of rape. I want you to think about this very carefully, of what will potentially happen if this bill goes into effect. A bill making it a crime to falsely accuse someone of a sexual crime was first read in the Alabama House of Representatives last week. The bill introduced by Representative Dickie Drake, Republican, leads would make listen to this, guys, would make falsely reporting a sex crime a Class C felony and punishable by up to 10 years in prison. If the accused is found not guilty, the accuser would be responsible for paying the accused person's legal expenses. This is intriguing, guys. Now, it is already illegal to make a false police report in Alabama, but it is not illegal to make a false rape report. Isn't that interesting? It's illegal to make a false police report, but it is not illegal to make a false rape report. Kathleen Connor, director of the Alabama Coalition Against Rape, said the bill would deter people from reporting sex crimes, which are already one of the most underreported crimes, yada, 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 claiming that false rape is someone who makes a false rape claim. That is rare, and this is just an effort. This is an effort to silence the men and women who are coming forward about sexual assault. It's about an effort to make them afraid to come forward. Now, this is interesting because at the end of the day, this is something that is happening. And this was actually published on NBC as well. Okay. As you guys, it was also published on NBC. The point I'm trying to make for you guys is that at the end of the day, a lot of things are happening. A lot of things are happening in our society. Okay? And a lot of people would not believe it. But what women are looking at is a serious loss of privilege. A major loss of privilege. A major loss of status. When it rains, it pours. That's the saying. Women have alienated themselves from men in society. Okay? Think about this very carefully. The socioeconomic status of women right now, most women are reporting that they can't find $500. Or let me correct myself, $400, I think it was. $400 for an emergency. $400. The average millennial woman cannot find $400. Are you following me? Are you now beginning to understand the major implications that women are headed for? And with millennial white women making up the largest group of women in the United States, there's going to be serious ramifications, especially when you consider that most of these women are saddled with massive amounts of debt. If and when this bill in Alabama passes, it could spread like wildfire. If it passes in Alabama, why shouldn't it pass in another red state? It can go from one red state to another red state to another red state, and it's only a matter of time before it ends up going on a ballot. Okay? On top of that, it may not even need to spread in that way, because the federal government could step in and they could make it a federal crime to accuse someone falsely of rape. Again, there's so many of these things are happening. Think about the falling of the socioeconomic status of women. Think about the fact that women are struggling right now to make ends meet. Think about the fact that most millennial women aren't getting married, aren't having children. And I think you're starting to realize where things are ultimately headed. They're not headed in a good place. Okay? Things are bad. Things are really, really bad. And there's no Captain Save-A-No coming to the rescue. There's no Captain Save or whatever. That's not happening. Like I said, guys, the best thing to do right now for yourselves is to invest. Invest in yourselves, invest in your future. Because that's something that women are struggling with also. Investing. Don't forget that the How to Take Profit from Cryptocurrency and Not Lose Your Entire Investment course is now available on cryptomoney.academy. Yes, it is. It is now available on cryptomoney.academy. And it's how to take profit from cryptocurrency and not lose your entire investment. All right, it's now available. It's going for $99 for an early bird price. And there's only 13 hours left on the sale. You can also find a bunch of other great courses as well. But the best thing to do right now is to start investing, start focusing on your future. Because right now, like I said, everyone is headed for tough times. But one thing that you can do as a man is to invest and to learn how to invest and how to take profit. You can find a bunch of courses, like I said here, that are going to teach you not only taking profit, but also how to invest in coins that are going to increase by massive proportions, how to buy Bitcoin so you can invest, how to day trade cryptocurrency for a living so that you can survive even if you don't have a job, and an introduction to cryptocurrency for those of you that don't know anything about it at all. Guys, you got to take care of yourself and you got to prioritize yourselves, because no one's going to do it for you. Let me know what you think about all these things that are happening right now. If you agree that the future for women, especially millennial white women, is one that is highly questionable right now and maybe filled with a lot of peril and hardship. Let me know what you think. Love God, get money, and cheers.